I feel ill. I feel sick. Do you know why? Do you want to know why? It's not even that Arsenal won. Congratulations, Arsenal. Absolutely deserved. Real Madrid embarrassed. But at the end, I was given something that tastes rancid. You know what that was? When Arsenal hit that counter-attack, and it was Martinelli from the halfway line. Some of you may know where I'm going with this. And he goes past the defender and he's basically one-on-one. The only thing he didn't do was go around the keeper. If not, it would have been an exact photocopy finish. It took me back to that Torres goal at the Nou Camp. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. I can't believe I'm seeing this. Arsenal have embarrassed Real Madrid in their own backyard. And they're heading into a Champions League semi-final. And I'll tell you why, because I know some people are going to say, no, but Younes, that Torres goal took Chelsea to the final. And then they went on to win it. This is just to the semi-final, and they can still, you know, they got PSG next. Yeah, I know. I'm going to make an early prediction. Arsenal are going to be playing the Champions League final. I'm going to say this now. And it's not recency bias just on the fact that they just finished their game. I'm saying that based on what we saw from PSG, obviously, I mean, as a collective, but yesterday they played, we had Arsenal play today. I'm sorry. I think Arsenal, look, Arsenal beat PSG. I think weirdly enough, if it had been Aston Villa that had gone through yesterday and they play against Arsenal, I would say there's a chance here for Aston Villa to get through. And then that would have been wild. Aston Villa playing a Champions League final would have just been out of this planet, right? So hence why no one predicted it to happen. But I see Arsenal. I think Arsenal beat PSG in the end. I think it'll be tight, but I think Arsenal beat them. And that's why that goal there at the very end where Martinelli scored that, it gave me such a sour taste. I was like, I can't believe this. I think now I am starting to envision a world where Arsenal somehow actually have a Champions League trophy. And I can't process it. I don't want it to process through my brain. That is a thought that I thought I would never see in my lifetime, and I want it to remain that way. I do. I cannot have another London club with a Champions League. I can't have another London club with is. No. And I would say that we're lucky to be able to say we got two. But, nah. Arsenal, Champions of... Nah. I refuse to live in a world where Arsenal are Champions League winners. I refuse. But you know what? That sentiment, that's emotion, that's me with my Chelsea glasses on. That's me as a football fan, of course. But as a neutral, I have to say, Arsenal, huge congratulations. Arsenal tonight were flawless. Flawless, and not just because of themselves, but also because of Real Madrid. Because I think Carlo Ancelotti blew it tonight. And that's something I didn't think I'd say. Because Don Carlo. But he got it absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. And Arteta had it easy. Now, obviously, Arsenal came into this tie 3-0 up. But still, Real Madrid could have done so much more in that first half, and they bottled it. Bottled it tactically, and for some players, bottled it individually. I won't say all, because I do think a big part of it was tactically. That's why I'm saying Carlo blew it. Carlo Ancelotti set Real Madrid up in a way that it was like they were afraid to concede. And I'm thinking, brother, what are you doing? You're 3-0 down. You can't be scared to concede more. You've already conceded the ones you shouldn't have conceded. Now you got to take the risk and go out and throw the kitchen sink at Arsenal. You're in your backyard. You even shut the roof. Yeah, you even closed the roof to try and make it more intimidating. And I gotta be real, that didn't even last that long. Yeah, and why? Because the Real Madrid fans could sense that it's just not happening. So what happens when fans can tell that it's not clicking, it's not going to happen? What happens? They calm down. Yeah, try and tell that logic to everyone that's kicking off at Chelsea at the moment. Yeah, just because I have to make that point. Yeah, you see the way Real Madrid fans were like, this isn't happening, lads. You know, yeah, that's the truth. It wasn't. Carlo Ancelotti. You see the way the game ended? That's probably how it should have started. That's the lineup that probably should have started. And it's weird to be able to say. But the midfield, for me, is where Arsenal had the keys. They had the keys. They're like, listen, Madrid, you can go through any door you want, right? But you've left this massive hole here in the middle that you're not actually using. We've got that key. We're going to just sit here and not move, and you're not going to do anything. That's exactly what happened. Because in the middle of the park, they had no control. Absolutely no control. And it's like they didn't even try. This is my issue here. They didn't have a creative outlet down the middle to be able to create something. Yeah, I would have thought Bellingham would have been that guy, but it was almost like Bellingham was waiting for the ball to get to him as well, which that could be critical of him, but it could be critical of the setup. And I would say the setup, because there were times you could see where he would try and a line next to Tchouaméni who would try and advance a little bit forward, but the balance of play in the middle was non-existent for Real Madrid. It was all Arsenal. The impact Modric had later on in the game, you'd think if they had started with that, that could have been nice. Rio Ferdinand made a very good point in his commentary, which I know peed off a lot of people tonight. But if I'm going to say, his point about Toni Kroos being missing was spot on. Absolutely spot on. Could not have said it any better. And Modric, the only thing with Modric is that he's about 65 years old at the moment, with all due respect. Modric is a great player. But you get what I mean? He's not going to fit for 90 minutes. But I would have started him. Start him and then take him off later if you have to. But this is where Carlo was... It was like Carlo was reserving. And I'm like... It was an easy night for Arsenal. Easy. Because they don't need to come out. You need to force a situation. You need to force it. Either get them to come out or pile the pressure on them and get them scared. Get them panicking. And even then, they actually gave a goal to Real Madrid with the Saliba mistake. So even then, the Vinicius goal was a mistake. It wasn't even Real Madrid doing anything. But it was them applying pressure, which is what in the first half, it looked bland beyond belief. Really, really bland. Mbappe tonight was non-existent. I mean, wow. Wow. And again, half and half. Half on him and half on the system. The system tonight made it feel like Real Madrid were down to 10 men. It was like they had one or two players missing. And if you look, everyone was kind of just waiting for the ball to come to them. No one was actually moving or initiating. Only until later, when the changes were made. So with Mbappe, you could say there's an element of that. But there was also an element of, yeah, he's just out of the game. He's just, there's nothing going to him. Like, really, really poor. Really poor. Really poor. Vinicius tried to go on a one-man mission every single time. But again, you could argue there was no one moving. System looked wrong. It's like everyone was marked out of the game. That's a system error. That's on Ancelotti. With Arsenal, everyone beautifully placed. Fantastic defending overall. A couple of moments, but overall, really good, solid. They were picking their moments. And this is what I don't get. Wherever Arsenal moved up the pitch on a counter-attack or whatever, defensively, it was like Real Madrid were just sleeping. It was like they were on like a buffer. You know when you go onto YouTube, you'll hear like a video takes ages to load. It was like that. It's just they didn't react until like 5 seconds later. Like, oh, I need to move. Yeah, I need to move that way. Oh, okay. And then the player's gone, mate. You should have done that 10 seconds ago. I don't know. It's like both goals. Look at both Arsenal goals. Real Madrid, static, no one moving. Everyone is on slow mode. Like, what's going on? You lot all on, like, mushrooms or something. Like, what's happened? What's going on? What's wrong here? I don't know. But what I will say is towards the end of the game, when all the changes were made by Carlo Ancelotti, right? When everyone was brought on, Mbappe brought off, Asensio brought off, to be fair, the first few substitutions were correct. Bringing off Vasquez, I mean, it was Ceballos that came on, but with Vasquez and bringing on Endrick at the same time, I can understand why Carlo did that. It made sense. It made sense. And even later on, taking off Mbappe, taking off Asensio, understandable, but bringing on Modric, bringing on Diaz, that made sense. But I feel like all of this should have been done in reverse. You see what I mean? The game should have started with this sort of way, because Real Madrid had a lot more energy towards the end, a lot more push and fight about them, but they left themselves open, and towards the very end is where they paid the price with that fantastic Martinelli goal, which reminded me of Fernando Torres and broke my absolute heart. But what I will say is the penalty decisions overall bizarre. The first one, where the Arsenal penalty that Saka missed, and I think that was a bizarre miss from Saka, by the way. I mean, why he took that penalty in the first place, I don't know. Odegaard had that. Mate, you're the penalty taker. You move with it. Don't second guess. Don't give it to anyone. You go with it. Luckily, they had a buffer. The 3-0 buffer was there. If not, that could have gone absolutely left. But poor penalty. But the decision, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. But if that is given, I think Real Madrid should have had a penalty when Declan Rice brought Mbappe down. Now, some would say it's soft, which, to be fair, yeah, Mbappe, you could tell, went down a little too easy. But Rice had his arms completely around him. He was holding him. Now, he didn't grab him down. He had his arms around him and then let go. Once he let go, that's when Mbappe dropped. But you had your arms around him. You restricted him. If the first one for Arsenal's given, that's given. It's a penalty, but it wasn't. So I don't understand that bit. Apart from that, though, everything was pretty straightforward. Real Madrid, bland as hell. One-dimensional. Poor system. On Carlo. Straightforward for Arsenal. They played it out of the park. They took their time. They were patient. They managed the game beautifully. Credit to Arteta for the setup and the way that he managed to get everyone deployed tonight. A very good defensive display overall. A very good counter-attacking display overall. And I admire that, because there's teams nowadays, modern-day football fans believe counter-attacking can't be done anymore. You just got to have the ball. Like, no, Arteta and Arsenal tonight have proven exactly why I still love counter-attacking football and why I think there's an element to it that catches big teams out. And I think if you know how to utilize it properly, you give yourselves an advantage, which is why I'm looking now and thinking, oh my God, Arsenal might go all the way. They might. The end with the goal, Martinelli, sums it all up. And the problem is like I've said, I've seen this script before. I've seen this script with us. I've seen this before. So now I'm actually thinking, I can't believe I have to probably rely. We're in a situation right now where we have to probably rely on Barcelona. Now, bearing in mind, Barcelona are going to be playing Inter Milan. Inter Milan got through tonight. Despite Harry Kane and Eric Dyer scoring goals for Bayern Munich, so I know like Bayern England lost tonight. But still, Inter Milan got through. Inter Milan are a little bit of a dark horse. Yeah? But I still expect Barcelona to go through. I am honestly going to view a prediction right now. Barcelona-Arsenal final. And you know what? This is written, isn't it? It's absolutely... Oh, flipping hell, it's written. Oh, no, it's written. It's written. No, I know Arsenal fans are going to be thinking now. I know you, but all of you see where I've gone with this, haven't you? You know. And if you're not old enough, then switch off the video. If you're not old enough to remember 2006, you can turn the video off now. Yeah, you don't need to remember. Just don't go back to it. Pretend I didn't say anything. But this could be the ultimate revenge for Arsenal. This could be. Oh no! I feel sick. I'm going. I'm leaving. Thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe, notification bell on. Bye. Brother.